Hey y'all. All right, so I think I'm on here to do a reading right now, okay? But what I really want to preface this message for my Sunday service is that you want to allow people to show up as their better versions of themselves. Okay? So I know the video before this one I talked about briefly. Again, I'm easing back into things, so everything's going to be like that. But in the video that I posted prior to this one, I briefly discussed how much forgiveness is important. And if someone hasn't violated like your security and they haven't broken your trust, but if they've done something that may not been aligned with the utmost level of love, or if you guys had a misunderstanding, which is an understanding miss, right? That it is possible that you can move forward from this. Okay. Um, and through time, both parties should be aligning themselves with understanding and then having a reunion. Okay? Because nothing in this life is that serious unless it is that serious. You see what I'm saying? All right. So, with that being said, if someone has done something wrong to you or have wronged you in the past and you can forgive them for it, you want to allow a space and time for them to show up differently. What does that mean? You're not holding their past against them. All right? It's the idea of really love on sight. Okay? Now, as someone who ventures, my spirit ventures out my body quite a bit, I do have to find time for intentional grounding just so I don't go through psychosis. I would say that when I'm interacting with the past in my present, my brain attempts to fill in all the blanks from our last encounter, especially if our last encounter was not pleasant. Okay? It starts grasping at, and this person did this person did that. Like as soon as the energy signature is in my field, it's like there's a disturbance in the force, and it's like, okay, what does this person have done? What they done to me? And my brain floods my senses with all of that. Okay, this is why we say time heals, but if you haven't acknowledged or made peace with yourself with certain conflicts internally, when the past is in your present, it's going to feel like a bombardment, right? It's kind of like a trauma response too, right? So not everything, every, let's say you were close to someone and you guys had a falling out or whatever the case may be, but you never spoke about it. And then all of a sudden they are in your presence. Your body, your field's going to remember the last encounter because you haven't spent time unpacking that and healing from it internally. Once you do that work and the past is physically in your present, right, you built a force field because you internally have come to peace with it. Okay? And that's the next level of allowing people to show up differently in the future. Now, mind you, I haven't worked out the kinks of this thought form. It's just something that I'm playing with right now for my future self to make sure that when whatever it is that I'm ahead in time in, that I remember this message right now. But I understand the idea of accountability. So what if you guys just never speak about whatever the situation was, and then they're in your presence? Okay. I'm not sure. I think the only thing is that your part has to be put to rest because some people might never ever say sorry for anything that they've done to you or any kind of miscommunication. Um, and that's okay. I would just say again in that moment, be present, do all of your exercises so that you know that you're in control of yourself and you don't need any outward validation. Okay, so they may come up to you and they'll be like, "Oh, hey, you can just say hi, Court." I don't know. I don't really know the situation. If you don't want to say hi, you don't have to say hi either. That's my whole point. My whole point is that you should be at peace. Okay, regardless of any external factors of the past, because we want the past to rest in peace. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you because it is very important for you to not to limit God. Okay? Don't limit God and allow people to show up differently. It doesn't matter what they were 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Some people jump timelines literally the next day. I don't think that's true, but they usually shift out of a frequency fast depending on how quickly they process information. Okay, now if you have residual things that's from way back years ago and you're like still processing, that's okay. Allow yourself to have a system reboot before you're interacting with other people. Okay, that's what the shadow work part of this whole thing is about, is that you want to be able to I guess reconnect in society without the filth of the past. That is the point, I think. All right, and some of us have more baggage than others, but that's neither here nor there, because if you commit to doing that work and healing yourself, then your reality would shift accordingly. You would no longer be in resonance with certain bullshit, and you don't require anyone's apology or even accountability, right? You start realizing that life itself is the loop and the accountability. As long as when you go home you are content, you're at peace with the life that you're creating with God, co-creating with God, then all this other stuff don't even matter. Right? And I'm saying this like I'm not saying this from like an egoic standpoint. I'm saying this as a point of like, your vulnerability is your power. So if your feelings were hurt, we don't have to turn to aggression or fear or anything like that, right? Like, you really got to understand that God got your back. Vengeance belongs to God. All right? So it's not even something that it should be in your heart. You understand? So if someone do something against me, they're doing it against themselves. Their lives are going to be a mirror image of the choices that they make, both consciously and unconsciously. How do I know? Because it is for mine. All right. It's not that I don't think I've gotten everything right in my life, but at the same time, my intentions were never to hurt anyone else. Okay. And then as I continue to live life and I start seeing the loop, like, you remember when you did this to this person? You remember what, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it came back onto me. Okay. I just have the awareness. Some people just don't have the awareness of what's going on because they're not staying still. They haven't allowed enough stillness for the cycle completion and the understanding to be gained and ingrained in the knowledge of self. All right. So once you find peace with and resolution through old past situations, you can reintegrate into society. And if your past is in your society, I promise you that just be present. And in the presence, the nuance of everything starts to unfold, right? And you just have to be okay with that as well. All right. It's love on sight. And you always allow people to show up differently than how they did in the past. Okay. You don't want to be held to a past paradigm of yourself. And so it's not fair to do that onto others. Okay. When you were 4, 9, 12, you didn't have the same maturity. You didn't have the same conceptual understanding. And you're supposed to grow and learn. You're supposed to mature. So we're grateful for that scenario for other people as well. All right. So with that being said, let me pause, take a sip, and then we're going to get into the reading. All right, let's get it. All right. Thank you, God, creator of all things known and unknown. Please guide my best to deliver this message on the highest possible frequency for divine alignment for all those involved. Divine wisdom, power, and glory, honor all those who have come before me. Be divinely respected and protected from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. We praise God in all tongues, all languages. Thank you. Is there anything in here? For the collective, this is a collective read. Okay. Yes. We want to know what you got to say. Yeah, what you got? All right. Your inner child, childlike wonder. Okay, so we're doing the overarching with the Divinations, the Energy Readers Oracle deck. If you guys would like to purchase the deck, hit me up. Your inner child is the key factor in your imagination. This is why your inner child healing is heavily promoted. The state of your inner child will predict your reality. The state of your inner child will predict your reality. The issues your inner child has not overcome will be recycled in the things that you experience. To learn any lesson, you must be open to receive guidance. That guidance feeds your imaginative power to create life here on earth. All right, it's on brand for the opening message, right? So everyone, right? Don't when we get into these contrasting events or events that bring conflict between us and our community, right? You really want to say to yourself, where is this a problem for my inner child? Right? Where is the elevation of maturity that I require? What is the lesson that I'm learning from this? And then you integrate that lesson accordingly. Okay? Because turning a blind eye to immature emotions or pretending like they don't exist will cause it to keep repeating in your many different relationships in your life. Okay? So be mindful of that. All right. So you have to at least ask the question and be open to receive the guidance to learn. Right? Because your life is going to be a direct reflection of the things you're not doing, the things that you are doing, and the things that you're not doing. Okay. What else you got? All right. So we have a spellcaster card. I am experiencing my best possible timeline with people, places, and things that reflect that. All right. So I removed the word desire, right? Because you want to be in the state of being where you are already attaining it, right? You already have it. All right. So you are on your best possible timeline with people, places, and things that reflect that. Okay. Now, your best possible timeline doesn't mean that there isn't some contrasting events. It's just there to make the picture clear. Shout out to Sensei. I give credit where credit is due. I got that from him. So where contrast is just making sure that you understand what is the things that you're leaving behind and what you're trying to evolve into. Right. That's the only reason why we get into these things. Right. It's for you to reflect. Like, do you want to go this way, that way? Okay. Also, they keep showing me boundaries. Okay. So boundaries. Whoa there, buckaroo. You can be a free spirit and still have healthy boundaries. Boundaries allow us to recognize where we end and others begin. They exalt our individuality and respect for ourselves as well as others. You are your first advocate. Be mindful of situations where your lack of boundaries leave you unsatisfied with the outcome. Note that unconditional love can only exist within healthy boundaries. This knowledge allows us to respect and honor the personal journey of others as well as ourselves. Okay? Healthy boundaries. Okay? So, yeah, love on sight is only because you show love to yourself, right? There's certain boundaries that you have for yourself, and that is just going to be echoed and mirrored externally from yourself. Okay? You can always enforce boundaries in a respectful manner. Okay? So, be mindful of that. So if you meet after you do all this work and you meet someone who is still like stuck on a old conflict paradigm where they had beef with you or problems with you and blah blah blah, you can only control what you can control. You cannot go into their minds and have them forgive and gain their own personal understanding. We can't do the work for people. You got to do the work for yourself. All right? So your job is to be a custodian of your vessel as well as your spirit, your inner child. Okay? That's your job, to set up healthy boundaries so that you're not compromising yourself for peace. We don't do that. All right? We have peace within, so even when we're in chaotic environments, we're still. Right? And we listen to what we have to do in our presence. All right? And we give grace to ourselves when we fall short. All right. Anything else, guys? They're saying yes, proceed. And also show me another deck that I need to grab. But I think there's one more card in here for the collective. All right. So another big plug is that when you look around, are you satisfied with your life? If you're not satisfied with your life, that means you're not done. That means there's something going on still in your subconsciousness that you need to clear out, work on. And if you are satisfied in your life, Be present. That means there's even more things to come. Okay? So if you are in a state of complaining about things, you need to really recognize, where is this internally? Because we're only projecting things that are internal on us. Until you start seeing your external truly matching the desired reality you want to live in, that's when you know that you have stopped, that you have reached. Okay, your heaven. Okay, your nirvana. All right. If you're looking around, you're like, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like how this person does this, da, 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 da. Is this person a reflection of you? In what ways is this person a reflection of you? In which ways is it in resonance? Right? And you can often tell that as if you bring it home, right? Because not every interaction that you have stays with you, or sometimes you're like, oh, this person's being an idiot, and then that it leaves it there, and you just move on with your life, right? But if you go home and you're like, why did that person do this, why didn't that, like, if it's like on your mind, really, you got to really set aside some time to think, what is about this situation that I'm in resonance with, and how can I shift or transmute it to be more coherent with the person that is at peace. You're literally making a decision. Do I want to keep experiencing this? Do I want to keep experiencing this? All right. That's why people say life is the best teacher. All right. So just like how you can shift from paradigms, timelines, and other words that you can use to describe shifting from one state of being to another, other people can also have that, but you can't force them. Okay, that's the whole thing, and you cannot force them. Other people still have that, but you can think, like I said, they're showing me think positively. Think positively about the shift. Okay. Um, is this the last card? Yes. Okay. So the past. Past, a period of reflection. Your cells store memories of the past and hold the fabric of your very existence. Exploring the past allows us to reflect and heal toward a brighter future. Break those ancestral curses by finding understanding in the experience. Shadow work is recommended at this time. What memories have you been playing in your head lately? Is this a distant memory? What is the message in the reflection? Allow understanding to bring you peace. That is the work. Okay? You work through all this stuff mentally, emotionally, and physically in order for you to be at a state of peace. Because the whole point is that we want to rest in peace. Okay? We don't want nonsense from when we're in the third grade ruminating in our brain. Okay? Because we provide ourselves with the keys in order to let that shit go. All right? Once you don't process something and you got the mental keys, right? And all you got to do is keep reciting it until the thoughts cease to come. That's the playbook. Okay? Because you will remember already that you already worked through this. So you don't have to keep picking up problems. But like I said in the other video, that your nervous system is what is allowing gateways and portals to hell. Okay? So if you enjoy being in a state of confusion or conflict or chaos, you're going to keep breeding that environment. Okay? Until you get tired of it. That's why we can't save nobody. That's the reality of all of this. Okay? You can only set up healthy boundaries for yourself because you honor those healthy boundaries within yourself. Okay? Grounding. Grounding. Something about the earth and grounding this energy, right? So those of you who don't want to be in your bodies, or you want to fly high and you don't want to be, in your reality, like I said, you really got to face that. That's the other part of integration. After you fly and you discover and you recognize the power of God within you, you still got to ground all this stuff into your reality, which requires a great deal of honesty. Okay, and respect for yourself, your personal journey, as well as respect and the personal journey of your ancestors who've come before you, because it's not you didn't carry this load by yourself. All right, each generation had their thing to evolve from for you to be here right now. Okay, and some of us literally we descended pretty low as far as bloodlines go. Okay, So keep that up. So whoever's listening to this right now, shadow work is recommended at this time. Okay, let me pause. That was good. Okay, I just had a piece of pone and some okra water. It gave me some energy. You know, when you spend a lot of time like in quiet and stillness, it does feel like work to speak again, you know? Because I'd be amongst the animals and we just be talking without talking. Okay. But then when I come on here, I press record and I'm like, I gotta take a lot of energy to speak. But yeah, that poem was busting. I ain't gonna lie to you. All right. So, and the okra too. We're gonna take out the Golden Wheel Tarot. Shout out to Tarot Priest. She gave me this a couple years ago. And I still use it to this day, baby. Alright, so we got the 5 of Wands on the cut. Alright, so somebody's having like an immature fight. This is looking like children on a playground having a little squabble. Alright, it's almost as if like it's an ego thing where one person's like, I'm better than you. And like, oh, that person said he's better than me. He's not better than me. It sounds something stupid like that. Okay. And I don't know if this is a past grudge, but you guys are supposed to come in together to, like, I guess, work on something for the community. All right. I'll tell you what, if both of you are listening to this right now, say I am experiencing my best possible timeline with people, places, and things that reflect that. Everybody that actually shows up and are present are supposed to be there. Okay. Now, how much energy you exchange is definitely up to you. Like I said, set your boundaries accordingly for yourself. You don't have to interact with people that you don't really care for their presence. Okay. We're not trying to force you to do anything. But my whole point is that you need to do some kind of shadow work to talk to your inner child to overcome whatever obstacles this is. Because if it's not this person, you're going to meet the same energy in somebody else. But because you refuse to have a resolution with it within yourself, it's just going to keep repeating itself. All right. So with your boundaries, your new understanding from your shadow integration, you can face anybody. Anybody. There's people who have undergone really heavy traumatic experiences and still were able to face the person who have inflicted that trauma. I'm not saying that they're part of their lives or they're eating Thanksgiving dinner together, but they have came across them. Okay. Or they have come across people who didn't do the trauma directly to them, but maybe, for example, somebody who inflicts trauma onto people that you also were a victim of a similar trauma, not by directly from that person, but somebody who was in your proximity. So now you're facing this person who did this to other people. Okay. So be mindful of all this stuff. Okay. That's why shadow work is important. All right. So I just saw that in the cut. Anything else from this deck? We're trying to get into a deeper discussion about what are we talking about, this inner child stuff, childlike wonder. Okay. Well, we got the 4 of Wands. It has to do with establishing a strong foundation, extending an olive branch. You can't make this stuff up. All right. Sorry is all that you can't say. I think that's Tracy Chapman's version. Okay, so we have the High Priestess card here, right? So this card has never come out for me in this deck. Okay. They're showing me the moon. They're showing me crossing paths. So yes, the universe is providing an opportunity for you to show and illustrate that you have the keys to get out of I want to say hell. That's the word. It's like a paradigm of nonsense, confusion. Okay. They keep showing me the key. Like you have the key in your intuition, like listening to your higher self, listening to your intuition will allow you to move past this. Okay. Someone might be also extending a olive branch. and it's because your union is more important than the issue or the fighting or the combativeness of egos or passions. Peace. They're showing me the dove. We got doves. 3 people might be involved into the situation, but either way, it's all about establishing security. We also got the 4 of Pentacles, which has to do with saving time, energy, and finances. Yeah. Okay. So so this is, I'm just going to talk frankly. What I'm seeing right now is that the High Priestess, right, the side of you that's in tune, that has an inner knowing, is already prepping you for you to cross paths with whomever this person is that's coming to say sorry to you. And they keep showing me the 4 of Pentacles, which has to do with you. Why you keep showing me this stuff? Something about a foundation, something about locking something into a safe or a chest of some sort, saving your money, saving your energy that brings forth peace. Okay, yeah. You're not supposed to be expending anything more than, right? When you have peace within, right? That's all that they're saying. You got to keep that security of peace within. So it doesn't matter what this person does or doesn't do. Okay. You have to experience this though, so that you can attain the key of knowledge of integrated wisdom. Like, you have the knowledge right now, but you're going to integrate the wisdom for when the scenario actually comes. You're going to integrate the knowledge and turn it into wisdom when the scenario actually comes there for you to show. What are you going to do when this person apologizes? What are you going to do when this person extends an olive branch? Now, the apology may not be like, I'm sorry that I stole your cat back in 4th grade. It may not look like that. It may look like, I am giving you some food, or I am giving you this thing. And I know you might think, well, no, I need this person to say it, right? And you got to be a little bit careful with that, because boundaries dictate what you do, not what other people do. Okay. So if they don't have enough, what's the word? If their pride is preventing them to admit that they're sorry, or that they're just tired of this whole scenario of having beef with you, and probably don't even remember the reason why you guys have the beef or the details to the beef, and they don't want to rehash it, they might just give you something. Okay. And then what you choose to do in that particular moment in time is what's going to determine what happens in your next karmic cycle. Okay. Because remember, what you do unto others, you're doing unto yourself. Okay. Because after all of this stupid stuff, all the conflicts of the world, shifts out of our reality, you still got to face yourself. You still got to be at peace with yourself. And everyone is just a reflection of you. Okay. On some level. Okay. When you really humble yourself to that point of understanding, there's really nothing that can, all right. You know what I mean? Because then you got to think about all the details of the past event. This is all the work that you could have done in your house. You don't need other people to witness you do this. But in front of them, you have to witness all the details based off memory. And then rehashing something that happened 4, 5, 16 years ago. And then trying to breathe life into that dead situation. So if I know God like I know God, shadow work can be voluntarily or involuntarily emitted in everyone's life. And at the end of the day, you got to choose to be like, this is not that serious. You got to talk to your inner child and be like, bro, I need you to grow up. We're not going to stay in Peter Pan energy. Maturing is important. Okay. So we should be able to let this go, so that we don't have residual resentment, residual problems with people in our present moment. It's time to allow people to show up differently than what you remembered. Right? And only when you're secure in yourself can you accept those olive branches. All right, I'm going to read this. I keep hearing let that shit go. Okay. Um, this is going to be definitely I got Cancer energy here, but this is definitely going to be either you're going to succeed or you're going to fail. Okay. And this is in spirit. Okay. Everything happens in spirit first before it's manifested in the physical. So get yourself mentally, physically, and importantly, spiritually ready to take flight on this. Okay. To reach a higher heights. It's gonna definitely prevent you from having poverty and holding on to an ego identity through the storms of life. Okay. So that's the advice for those of you that are going to be experiencing the past in the past in the present. All right, the skies are opening up. Okay, anything else from the Angels of Abundance deck, and then I'm out. Okay, if you want me to take that, I'm gonna take it, but I'm gonna take it on the if it comes out on its own. I just think that's funny. All right, so we got clearing debts. Your self-care involves removing the heavy burden of financial emotional debt from your life. You already feel lighter and freer just by facing the topic and making a plan to clear present obligations and avoid future ones as well. That has to do with the Four of Pentacles as well, saving your time, energy, and money, obviously, right? Because your spirit is what's bringing your physical currency here. Okay, so if you keep ruminating and sending energy back into the past, especially on negative emotions, you end up accumulating debt, right? Now, don't get me wrong, right? Shadow work is definitely necessary. Okay, you need to face yourself, see the truth, right? But in those times where you're like constantly doing shadow work, you do sometimes rack up quite a bit of debt. All right, but don't get it twisted. Once you overcome and transmute it, you get that money and you're clear to receive. Okay, so try your best to save the energy that you do have. The only reason why you practice peace in isolation so that when you're in chaos, you can maintain it. Okay, not for show, not for your Instagram likes, but to be authentically at peace within. Because chaos, entropy is going to happen out no matter what is going on. Okay, you can only control what you can control. That is, the boundaries are for you. Okay, and you don't have to be hostile. There's no need to be hostile when you're enforcing boundaries. Right? Right, my thing be laughing. I'd be laughing. Like, oh, this person, you know, what is going on? Right? You just don't have to interact. You can literally get into the point where you're redirecting your time, energy, and resources into things that actually feed your soul. Okay? You don't have to live there in nonsense with other people or states of hell with other people. Okay? I want to read the High Priestess. She's staring at me and they keep showing me the owl for wisdom. Okay? Your higher self, your intuitive self is extremely wise. Okay. All right. Let's do that. And let me get the thing and then we're done. Eat some cherries or something. All right. So the High Priestess, a keeper of the key. Slow down. Wayfarer. The moon has already risen and only in its faint light illuminates your path. Do not rush into the dark forest where mystical shadows and black silhouettes confuse you. Give yourself a break. Stop in front of the ghostly gates. There waiting for you is the keeper of the key. She is speechless but wise. In her hands is a treasured key from the gates, but she will give it only to the worthy. Be patient and attentive, and then you will hear the voice of your own soul offering your unconscious wisdom and intuition. You can find answers to your questions and solve the mystery by trusting yourself. To hear, sometimes you just need to be quiet, and then the darkness will recede, allowing you to find the right path. Upright, it represents mystery, hidden factors, deep connection, uncertain relations, empathy, insight, introversion, patience, intuition, and meditation. All right. So that is basically what I was talking about this entire time. Okay, so you want people to show up differently, right? This is the key right here. I'm giving you pieces of it, just so you can be consciously aware. But like I said, um, when you're moving in your reality, sometimes you forget. But I'm just giving you a heads up. All right, there is a peace that comes when things are quiet, when you don't have to speak. It's a beautiful thing, quite honestly. Um, so allow other forms of communication to set way a pathway of forgiveness. Okay, it doesn't have to be in the terms in which you describe, like, no, you have to do this, you have to walk up a mountain, you gotta buy me flowers. It doesn't have to be all of that. It can be as subtle as just a stare and a nod, meaning that you guys are both following the frequency of forgiveness and understanding. Okay, we allow people to show up as the best version of themselves, regardless of the past.